Welcome to the KayaCast podcast, presented by Kaya Push, the cannabis software making people management easy. The KayaCast is all about helping cannabis retailers launch, grow, and scale their business.
We're your hosts. I'm Maria McCliggett.
And I'm Tom Mulhern.
And today we're going to answer one of the top questions people ask when it comes to building a cannabis business.
I just want to welcome you all here. Welcome to our podcast. And just remind you to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast player app to get the latest episodes of the show each week.
So first I have to ask you, Tom, have you ever dreamt about starting your own small business?
I have, actually. I would love to start a coffee shop somewhere in the woods. I would include maybe some fly fishing gear in there and maybe a stage where people could do concerts. What about you? Have you ever thought of doing any sort of business?
I think I'd have always thought I'd be really good at running a retail store.
What type of retail store would you have?
Maybe clothing, but maybe some cool little home goods as well.
Maybe your dream is to start a cannabis retail shop or a dispensary, but you're not sure where to start. Stick around because today's episode is all about that, all about starting a dispensary, what a dispensary is, and how much it costs to open a dispensary, and even some tools and tricks to help you on your journey of opening a dispensary.
So before we really jump into this conversation, we probably need to answer a big question here. What is a dispensary?
So basically, a dispensary is a place that sells marijuana or cannabis products for medical or recreational purposes.
Cannabis has really become this major player in the healthcare system. It's got an ever-growing support for the legalization, and investors and manufacturers are waking up to the opportunities that this is bringing.
Cannabis is still illegal under federal law in the United States, but it's been legalized in 35 states with really more on the way, more states legalizing marijuana and cannabis use. And cannabis has been legal in Canada since 2018. We're well on our path to legalization across the world, and we're just starting.
California was actually the first to make the drug legal in 1996. So people have obviously known how much money that this is going to bring for a long time now. So thousands of dispensaries have opened across the country, and they're offering cannabis for sale both for recreational and medical purposes.
And I grew up in Colorado, and Colorado, as a proud Coloradoan, Colorado has the largest number of marijuana dispensaries in the United States. So it's easy to see why there's such a high interest in marijuana and dispensary businesses.
Dispensary owners are really becoming those community educators, and they're telling people about the benefits of using cannabis, especially for medical and health-related issues.
So now that we know what a dispensary is, we need to look at how much profit does a dispensary actually make.
So an estimate's actually putting the profit after tax at 12%, with over 90% of dispensaries reporting good to great revenue.
Looking at the global cannabis market, it's projected to grow from $28 billion in 2021 to over $197 billion in 2028, with a compound annual growth rate of 32%. There's a lot of money to be made there.
Lots of money, but there's business costs to consider as well. So if you're opening a dispensary, you have to consider your size and location. There's taxes, pricing of your actual product, daily transactions, all those operating costs.
Yeah, there's so many costs in running a business, whether it's a retail store or a coffee shop or a cannabis retail shop. And on average, the cost of operating a dispensary can be between $200,000 and $1 million. Now, this cost is obviously dependent on the size of the business outlet, but there's a lot of costs that are involved in running a dispensary.
Application and licensing alone can be as high as $200,000.
There's other specialized legalized services. There's day-to-day operational costs of paying your bud tenders and paying rent and those sort of things. What other things are there that you have to keep in mind?
There's always your POS system, your employee management software, payroll.
So really, at the end of the day, running a dispensary has costs associated it, just like any other business does, but you have to factor that in with how much a dispensary owner makes. So here's the big question, Maria. How much could a dispensary owner make running a profitable business?
So dispensary owners are reporting that on average, they're making $500,000 a year running their dispensary.
That's a lot of money. That's why a lot of investors and entrepreneurs are investing in cannabis. That's why it's such projected to be such a growing industry because there is a lot of money to be made there.
Definitely is. But you have to remember that it's not an easy job. Dispensary owners are occupying that top tier position in the cannabis retail business. So they're in charge of raising all the capital for their business. They have to set up the administration and the management. They're responsible for keeping the business operating smoothly. There's a lot of tasks involved.
There's a lot of tasks, there's a lot of pressure, there's all of that. But according to MJ Biz Daily, there most dispensary owners receive over $500,000, like we said, but a quarter or more are estimated to have revenues of over $1 million. You got to balance the stress of running a dispensary with, hey, there's a chance to make some good money there. If the weight of starting a dispensary from scratch is too much to bear, there's also the alternative route of acquiring a franchise.
So let's talk a little bit about what a franchise actually is.
A franchise is set up when a business allows a third party called a franchisee to operate under their brand structure and sell a product or service under the brand's trade name.
So think like businesses such as Wendy's, Tim Hortons, those are franchises, right?
Yeah, the franchisee pays the business an initial fee and continues to pay those annual royalties and a certain percentage of sales to be under that brand. So as a franchise, you get access to the same systems that the large operators are using, and you get to run a business with the same name and really that market value of people knowing who you are.
Yeah, that sounds great. So instead of starting from scratch, you've already got a brand name that customers recognize. There's existing products that people know about, and they're probably going to help you out with all of your operating standards and marketing as well.
But the downsides are there as well, Maria. There's fees involved in, like I said, there's fees involved in running a franchise. Sometimes they can be up to $100,000 or even a percentage, 5 to 6%. You can't change the brand or the business name. If you want to go on a whole different route, you can't really do that when you're a franchise. As well, you're forced to use their existing framework for managing the teams and systems in place. And there's even legal issues if you're in the United States, crossing borders with franchise locations. So it's a pretty big choice that you got to make between whether you're just going to go out on your own and start something new or whether you're going to partner with a larger franchise.
So someone is wanting to go out on their own and they're just going to go for it and open a dispensary. But maybe they're not so good at handling the administrative side of the business. Any options?
There's tons of great softwares out there. There's tons of really great people who will work with you to open your dispensary. There's point of sale systems. And actually one of the great options out there is Kaya Push because it really levels the playing field when it comes to running a dispensary because it gets rid of those really annoying tasks of HR and payroll and onboarding and employee management all in one easy platform. And it's cool because it integrates with a lot of the point of sale systems that as a dispensary owner you have to put in place. So Kaya Push is a great option. There's really good software out there for everything you need to really get started opening a dispensary.
That sounds awesome. So now that we know how much dispensary owners make, are you rethinking your business idea?
Maybe we'll add some weed and coffee because really they go so well together.
Could always do some weed brownies.
That's right. Maria, thank you so much for taking the time to discuss this huge question that people are asking. And I look forward to having more conversations about this, helping business owners in the cannabis industry really get started and do what they love. And be sure to subscribe. And if you have any topics or even ideas, feel free to reach out to Maria or myself, and we'd love to chat with you more on the KayaCast podcast. Thanks for listening to the KayaCast podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app or visit our website at kayacast.fm to learn more about our guests and to access the full archive of episodes of the show. We can't wait to share more stories with you each week of cannabis retailers launching, growing, and scaling their business.